What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the FF Ballbusters podcast. Thank you for joining us. We are recording this on Thursday, April 20th, officially now a week away from the NFL draft. Very exciting stuff. But my name is Eric. That guy over there is my fantastic co-host, Will. How you feeling this morning, man?
Bro, I'm ready to get through some of these rumors, man. A lot of smoke screens, and it's
Yes.
perfect that we're going over this on 420 with all this smoke.
Bro, I didn't even think about that. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so like Will alluded to, we are getting into some NFL draft rumors today. I'll put it out there. It's not like we have any inside sources. I will say I think we're both pretty plugged in on Twitter and in the social media atmosphere when it comes to draft stuff, NFL things. So we follow a lot of people that do have inside sources, but we personally do not have any of them. But we're gonna have fun today. Just go through some important rumors that I think could kind of rear their head come draft night. And also give some fun speculation of our own.
Hell yeah. You ready to go ahead and get into it?
Yeah, let's start out with this first one here. In that the Texans are shying away from CJ Stroud because he shares the same agent as Deshaun Watson. That is David Mulugeta, by the way, in case anyone was curious. Obviously, Deshaun Watson and the Texans ended in a kind of rough breakup, and so there's probably hard feelings there between the agent and the way that all kind of the way that all ended up happening. So what are your thoughts here on the quarterback situation for the Texans and whether they're going to take one or not?
So, if they don't take CJ Stroud at the 2 spot, and a lot of steam has been going towards Bryce Young going at the 1 spot, I don't know what they do, but they might just punt the quarterback position again this year, honestly, because I don't think they like Richardson or Will Levis that much to take a shot on them. They're still rebuilding pretty heavily, so it kind of makes sense for them to wait it out, I guess. But I don't know. That's kind of a petty reason for them to not draft someone, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I can understand there's some bad blood there.
For sure. Yeah, it's tough to, have a relationship with somebody like that and then just have to go right back into it with a franchise quarterback again. So I can understand, but I don't know that it's a great idea when you clearly need a quarterback to try to push it to the following year. Like, how many times have we seen teams do that and it end up working out for them?
Not often at all, really.
Yeah. Because obviously you have some top tier talent with Caleb Williams and Drake May next year, but yeah, I'm just not so sure that that's a great idea. But let's dive further into CJ Stroud here. He's really getting dragged through the mud in the media right now. After originally being the odds-on favorite to go number 1 to Carolina, we've heard in recent weeks that he bombed the S2 cognitive test and that Bryce Young and Will Levis killed it. We've heard that he's quote unquote hard to coach. We've heard that he ghosted the Manning Academy, which I really don't know if I buy that at all. But again, all of this smoke, all of this stuff out there in the Twitter universe, why do you think we're hearing all of this right now?
It's classic. The week before the draft, smoke screens. It's teams trying to lower people's draft stocks so they can pick them up later in rounds. This happens every single year to one of these top prospects. They end up sliding, or just some news comes out that hurts their draft stock just a little bit. And this is just, again, like you said, it's just a ringer again. I feel like this is people trying to get Carolina off of CJ Stroud.
You think, okay, so you
or
think
whoever's going to have that number 1 pick, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I think, again, all speculation, but I think the Colts might be the driving factor in this thing. I think it's another thing that we'll talk about as we get further in terms of who the Colts are zeroing in on at quarterback. But one of the guys that they like, I know, is CJ Stroud. And so I could see them having a motive to drive these sort of rumors to see if they can get him to fall to 4.
Oh, yeah, I could definitely see that, because looking at the top 4 spots, you got Carolina, who's leaning towards Bryce Young, I believe. At least that's what the news is saying. We got the number 2 spot for the Texans, who are saying they're not going to draft a quarterback. They got these agent issues with C.J. Stroud anyways, so who knows if they're going to get him. Cardinals have Kyler Murray, and yeah, the Colts are right there at 4, so it makes sense for them to try to get him to slide there.
Yeah. It's going to be a very interesting situation for sure, but I feel bad for CJ Stroud, man. This is not deserved.
Yeah, it's not fair, but it's a part of the game. This is what happens when you're playing with the big boys, I guess.
Happens to somebody every year. Just happens to be Stroud this year.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so we've alluded to it. Bryce Young is the odds-on favorite to go number one to the Panthers right now. We also talked about this, that the Texans could possibly draft a defensive player or trade out of the number two spot entirely, as opposed to picking a quarterback, which seemed ridiculous even a week or two ago. But now it seems like that's kind of the odds-on favorite thing to happen. This would shake things up a ton. I think it might make teams less likely to trade up with the Cardinals at 3, knowing that there's still more quarterbacks available on the board, which could lead quarterbacks to fall further down the draft. And then you also mentioned, you put this in here, that Kyler Murray could be on the move. He might be on the trade block. And so maybe the Cardinals look to draft a quarterback at 3.
Yeah, because it kind of makes sense at the fact that the Cardinals, they're rebuilding sort of in a weird way. They went from being one of the teams who's supposed to be one of the best teams in the NFL last year with Cliff Kingsbury, who turned out to be a nobody, and the team just didn't end up going anywhere. So now they're almost in a hard rebuild type of situation. DeAndre Hopkins wants out. James Conner's getting old. It's a weird situation out there in Arizona. So I feel like trading Kyler Murray could be a possibility, and it's something I've seen people start to open up the idea to a little bit as of late, that it could be a possibility. I don't think so personally. I think I'm selling that because I think he's their guy, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities for a team that's rebuilding like this.
Definitely not. Yeah, I don't know what to believe, whether or not he really is going to be on the move or not, but it's something that I could definitely understand with, like you said, they're rebuilding, and also they brought in an entirely new coaching staff. And a lot of times those guys want to hand select their own player. And with the draft capital that they have the opportunity to do that if they wanted to go quarterback. So another interesting thing to think about there. Before we move on into the other kind of rumors that we have a partnership to talk about with Dynasty Owner. So if you guys are interested in a really cool, fun, and kind of unique way to play Dynasty, I think Dynasty Owner is the place to go. They do have a patent on using real-life NFL salaries in their Dynasty games, which makes the NFL draft that we're about to have, the free agency craziness that we just went through, all these transactions a lot more important and a lot more fun for your Dynasty rosters because they impact you directly. So if you're interested in an experience like that, I would highly recommend you go over to dynastyowner.com and use our promo code BALLBUSTERS for 20% off when you sign up, $10 off at original sign up. So again, dynastyowner.com, use our promo code FFBallbusters for 20% off.
Yeah, check out Dynasty Owner, guys. It's a great website, honestly. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into the next set of information we got here, next set of news. And we got a little bit of trouble over in Indianapolis, as per usual.
Yeah.
They haven't had much luck in terms of quarterbacks as of late, and it seems as if they're still kind of struggling getting on the same page with what they want at quarterback. Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard have apparently been in a disagreement over which quarterback the Colts should take. Steichen wants Anthony Richardson, but Ballard wants Stroud. And, of course, we've seen a lot of news in the past few weeks about both of these guys going to Indianapolis, both of them going to interview. Anthony Richardson doing some reps and working out with Gardner Minshew out there in Indianapolis. So what do you think about this one, Eric? What do you
This doesn't surprise me from the Colts organization. Also, to be real, I don't think that this is too out of the ordinary for a GM and a coach to kind of butt heads a little bit in terms of what player they want. This seems reasonable to me, where Steichen, being a head coach, being a guy that feels like he can probably mold a player into what he wants him to be, that he wants to take a guy like Anthony Richardson with all of the physical and athletic tools that he has and try to shape him into, potentially like a Jalen Hurts type quarterback that he just came from, and that he just showed the ability to help develop. Whereas Ballard, being, coming from a scouting background, might not that he doesn't believe in Steichen, but that he probably has a pretty good opinion of what these players are right now, and knows that Stroud is the more complete passer as of today, and probably a more sure thing in terms of, lacking bust potential. So I can see why these guys would come at it from different approaches, but I have no idea what to tell you as far as who they're actually going to take.
Being honest with you, if I was the Colts organization, I'm probably going to listen to Steichen before I listen to Ballard, just because what has Ballard done with the quarterback position up till this point, So It's kind of
Yeah, I
tough for me to
mean,
trust the guy who picked Carson Wentz and then said, "Ah, nah, he wasn't the answer. It was Matt Ryan." You know?
yeah, I just wonder with Ballard being in the position that he's in, like, I mean, he's kind of the boss, other than the owner. So the real wild card is Jim Irsay here.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what he has to say.
Yeah, Jim Irsay, wild Jim Irsay could just come and say, "Yeah, we want Stroud. We'll take him." Well, I guarantee you, whichever one they pick, it's going to be the worst decision. I just hope that both of these guys are good, to be honest with you.
So that means it's going to be Levis, right?
Probably.
Maybe Hendon.
Oh,
Maybe
Hendon
at
Hooker
4?
at 4th overall? Oh, my God.
I'm just fucking around.
And then the next set we got on here, we got Trey Lance on the trade block. This is actually some news that popped up yesterday, I believe. It's been gaining some steam. Might see it happen before the draft. Might see teams might wait to see who falls to them before committing to Lance. We don't really know what's going on with this Trey Lance situation, to be honest with you. It's looking like the team likes Brock Purdy a lot. The fans like Brock Purdy a lot. This is something I was kind of speculating towards at the end of last season, where I was like, you got these guys, one has a lot of potential, whereas one of them's actually kind of doing it, and he's won a playoff game and has that experience. The other guy kind of falls to the wayside a little bit, I feel like. And so this all comes down to, do you think Trey Lance is going to get traded? Because me personally, I hope so.
Yeah, I do. I do think he's going to get traded. I don't think that he should get traded. I don't think that the 49ers should commit to Brock Purdy.
Nope.
But I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
From everything that I've heard, that seems to be the case. From a fantasy perspective, this kind of sucks for Trey Lance because a lot of his appeal was the fact that he was in an amazing offense in San Francisco with all the weapons around him, with a great creative head coach like Kyle Shanahan. So if he goes somewhere else with significantly less investment in him and, not the same supporting cast, I think it probably decreases his fantasy ceiling. He's still a running quarterback, assuming he fully recovers from the ankle injury, and so he's going to have a floor there. But yeah, from a fantasy perspective, I think this would kind of suck for Trey Lance, but I don't think this is a smokescreen. I think this is probably going to happen.
Yeah, I'm definitely buying this rumor. It just makes the most sense, I feel like, to me. Also, the team picking up Sam Darnold in the offseason to be a backup, and he's splitting first team reps with Trey Lance right now. Like, it's just not a great look for Trey Lance over there. And I feel like with Kyle Shanahan, that's kind of the thing that sucks about having a good coach. They can kind of make it work with a lot of people, and he showed last year he can make it work with Mr. Irrelevant. So
he's shown every year that he can make it work with whoever the fuck is back there.
Yeah,
Jimmy G's not a good quarterback in my opinion. He's done it with Nick Mullins. He's done it with everybody, bro.
Fucking who's the one guy, man? Nick Mullins and the other guy who used to come in for Jimmy Garoppolo when he get hurt, C.J. Beathard. That guy would always hoop whenever he came into the game, too.
There was hype around him, too, the same way they're doing Brock Purdy right now. He's not the truth.
No.
It's not the truth.
No, but I guess it all stands to be seen. I can't wait to see how the 49ers blow this one. There's also, so as an NFL GM, if you were to trade for Trey Lance or Aaron Rodgers, right, who would you give up more for?
Yeah, this is a really interesting question that I saw on Twitter the other day.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm the NFL GM, if it's me personally, I think my answer would be different than what I think is actually going to happen. If it's me, it still depends on the state of your team. Like a team like the Jets or a team that feels that they're ready to contend right now,
That could give up more, right?
I think you probably give up more for Rodgers. Even though he's as old as he is, even though he's talked about retirement, it's just a matter of, like, we've seen what Rodgers can do. We've seen a Hall of Fame career out of him. If he can put it together for this team, like, you are a Super Bowl contender. You don't know that with Lance. Even though he's 23, he's got all the potential in the world. I still do believe in Lance that he can be good. You just don't know that. So from a contender's perspective, I think you give up more for Rodgers. And then obviously if you're rebuilding, like, you're not going to be interested in Rodgers, but also Lance only has 2 years left on his deal. So, like, that even further decreases the amount that you're willing to pay for him. I don't know. Interesting situation for sure.
Yeah,
What do you think?
you'd essentially be you're trading for either, one of the best quarterbacks of all time who's aging a little bit out of the league. I'm not saying he's going to completely age out. He's saying he's still got another MVP left in him, so we'll see. But
Yeah.
versus a guy who's essentially, in my eyes, a third-year rookie at this point.
Yeah.
We haven't seen much out of him, to be honest with you. He's barely a second-year player in terms of experience. So it's tough to get really behind the Trey Lance train because he just hasn't really shown us anything yet. So
yeah, it's true.
It's like you said, I would give more for Aaron Rodgers depending on the situation, but Trey Lance is an interesting one. It's interesting.
Yeah. Very curious to see how that plays out. Another quarterback that might be on the move is Mac Jones. We've heard a lot of rumors that there's been kind of a falling out in the relationship between Jones and Belichick and just the rest of the coaching staff. Obviously, Jones was pretty demonstrative on the sidelines last year in his feelings towards the play calling and stuff like that was pretty outspoken. So what do you think? You think this is hype? You think this is real? And where do you think he might end up?
Man, Patriots trade rumors, man. We've been seeing them for a long time. Tom Brady was on the move for a long time until he finally got out of there. I think they give it another year. Last year was a historically frustrating season, I feel like, for any quarterback, having Matt Patricia and who was the other fuck nugget they had back there calling plays?
Joe Judge.
Yeah, Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, bro.
Fuck nugget.
Those two, I wouldn't have them draw up plays for high school, let alone in the NFL at that level.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
I'm hoping they give it one more year just to see, because Mac Jones did show that he could do a lot his rookie year. Last year was obviously a down year, so hopefully they can turn it around this year with some actual people back there calling plays. And Bill O'Brien, right? Bill O'Brien's their OC now?
Yeah. He should be a much-needed improvement for them.
Absolutely. What do you think? Before we...
I don't know, man. I think, especially with... So there's another rumor that we'll get to about one of these top four quarterbacks potentially falling. If that's the case, I wouldn't be shocked if they take one. I think they're sitting at 14, New England?
Yeah, I believe so.
If one of those top four guys makes it to them, it wouldn't shock me if they pulled the trigger. But also, yeah, I could see this all being, hearsay, and they just hold on to Mac Jones for another year to see what he's got.
Yeah. It's just, you never know with the Patriots ever in any situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, Patriots are sitting at 14, just to clarify that for everybody out there. Yeah. With that being said, we're going to move on to our next ad read. Recently, I did it again. Poncered.
We poncered.
Yeah. Recently, we partnered with the Fantasy Football League Winners website. We do some content for them over there as well. So if you guys are ever looking for any extra videos, any extra content for us, that's where you can find it. So if you check the link out in the description below, you'll be able to find that website, be able to check out some of the other creators' articles and stuff that they make too, because they have a really good team over there. It's honestly really cool. But as a part of that sponsorship as well, as a part of that partnership, we are also sponsored by God, I am tripping right now.
You're good, dog.
We're also sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. And what that means, if you use our promo code FFLW, they will match your deposit if you are a first-time user 100%. So if you put in $20, they will match it with another $20, making it $40, so on and so forth. You put in up to $100. So you could have $200 in your account if you are a first-time user. You use our promo code and you deposit $100. And you can just go ahead and jump right into it. Play some best ball, get into some other leagues. Play some fantasy that doesn't require as much commitment, but you can still have just as much fun. So use our promo code FFLW or use the link in the description below and have some fun and gamble responsibly.
For sure. Thank you, Underdog. But let's keep it going. The next rumor that we have on the list, well, not rumor, I think this one's true. I'm just curious what it means. Quentin Johnston, not invited to the NFL draft, but Addison and Zay Flowers were. We've seen kind of some hype early on in the process where Quentin Johnston was some people's wide receiver ones. That seems to have cooled off now. And a lot of these other kind of smaller potential slot guys have actually jumped him in the rankings. So I'm curious what you say about this.
Yeah, it's definitely strange because I feel like Zay Flowers has a lot of hype right now. Like the Zay Flowers hype train has been going crazy, especially since he worked out with Patrick Mahomes yesterday.
Yeah, people are going nuts over that.
But it doesn't make sense that So Quentin Johnston, do you feel like he's a first round pick, or do you think he's going to go day 2, second round?
What I think is going to happen, or what I think should happen.
What do you think should happen?
I think I think that he is probably a late first round pick. Yes, I think he deserves that.
That's what I would think too. And with Zay Flowers there, Zay Flowers at the best, if he gets drafted in the first round, would be at that tail end of the first round, or at least based on interest. I'm saying if it does go to the Chiefs, right?
From what I've been hearing, I was kind of surprised. I'm not surprised that any team does their due diligence and hosts a player that they might be interested in. But from what I've been hearing, Zay Flowers isn't going to make it to the Chiefs. Like he's going to go in the teens or early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I don't know why Quentin Johnston wouldn't be invited to the draft that night.
Seems weird, but I mean, it might be indicative. Like it might mean he's not going round 1.
Yeah, I could see him being an early day 2 guy too, though, and that not be too much of a knock towards Quentin Johnston. But that is a little strange. I would have thought he'd go in the first round, but I don't know. This whole draft process is kind of weird, especially with the skill positions, because I feel like it's deep, but at the same time, it's not. So you would think a guy like Quentin Johnston would be a heavy commodity, him being the big body guy for the draft, but.
Right. Yeah, I just don't think it's as top heavy as we've seen in recent years. Like the past 2 wide receiver draft classes have been incredible. We've seen them all go on to have great success, and I don't think outside of JSN that the top guys in this class are necessarily comparable or in the same level as the guys that we've seen from the past 2 draft classes. But also we've seen crazy investment as far as like the draft capital in these receivers recently, going inside the top 10, a lot of them going, in the teens.
Got Jamar Chase at 3rd overall.
Yeah. So like, even though Quentin Johnston isn't in that category, I'd be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised based on what we've been hearing, but it would surprise me from my evaluation of him for him to slip out of the first round.
I would agree. I would definitely agree. But I think early second isn't out of the realm of possibilities, or 5th overall for Jamar Chase as well, not 3rd. I don't know.
Yeah. You're good. But yeah, so definitely an interesting note there. Something that, might rear its head come draft night. He might not be a day 1 guy. Another thing that I saw recently from Lance Zierlein, he thinks that one of the top 4 quarterbacks is going to fall. We had seen earlier on in the process that it might be, 4 quarterbacks rip off the board in succession with the top 4 picks. After what we've gotten from this past week, that seems like it couldn't be further from the truth. Yeah. It's not going to happen that way. But he thinks that one of them could fall fairly dramatically, like into the teens or maybe even into the 20s. So that would be interesting to see. And he also thinks that 3 tight ends are going to get drafted in the first round. So what are your thoughts on that?
So as for the 4 QBs, like you said, as of recently with the news we've been getting, it's not looking like top 4 QBs are going to go rip anymore, especially with Houston saying they might not even take a quarterback anymore. And if they don't, that shakes things up quite a bit. But as for like the tight ends, I could definitely see that, because there's been a lot of Dalton Kincaid getting linked to the Packers that I've seen quite a bit. I've seen Dalton Kincaid linked to the Chargers as well, which would also be a great fit. I've seen Michael Mayer to the Cowboys a lot. And then there's still Darnell Washington, who, while we don't think he's great from a fantasy perspective, he is great from a football perspective. So we could also see him get ripped off way in that first round. So that's definitely in the realm of possibilities right there.
Absolutely. He did mention also, those are the 3 tight ends that he had in mind when making that statement. But he did mention that there was some concern from some teams that he talked to about Dalton Kincaid's weight. I think at his pro day, he said that teams were saying he looked skinny. He said teams were saying he looked like he might be 225, 230 when he should be playing at like 245. Again, this is speculation central right now, but that's what I heard from him.
I mean, draft the guy and then get him on a meal program, bro. This is the NFL. Yeah. Come on. Come on.
True.
But I could see that. Though. I could see that.
Yeah. All right. And one more ad read for you guys before we get into the final kind of rumors here. we have a partnership with our boy Zay, who makes kind of some merch and some apparel on his website at snacks.online. The brand is called Do Numbers. We wear it all the time. We don't happen to be wearing it this video, but if you go back and check any of our other recent videos, we're always wearing his stuff. Lots of cool hoodies, lots of cool t-shirts. Anything that you guys are interested in is all on the site, and it's linked down in the description below. And you can use our promo code FFBallbusters15 for 15% off your order on the site. So again, go support us, go support our boy Zay, and use our promo code FFBallbusters15 to get 15% off.
Yeah, go get you some Do Numbers, dog. And do numbers, dog.
All right, into our final rumors here. We got a lot of running backs that might be on the move. We have Austin Eckler with the Chargers not getting the deal that he had hoped for, and he has requested a trade. We have Derrick Henry, who we haven't heard about requesting a trade, but he's potentially on the move just with the way that the Titans are kind of going about their potential rebuild process. And then also Dalvin Cook, lots of rumors that he could be traded or even cut if he doesn't take a pay cut with the Vikings. So some of the top running backs that we've had in recent years could be leaving their current situations. What's your thoughts on all this? Where do you think they might go? Fantasy-wise, any sort of implications you can think of?
So I think out of all three of these guys, the one that wants to leave the team is Austin Eckler. He's the one who's, requested a trade. He recently said, worst case scenario, I'll play for the Chargers again, which is a crazy thing to say.
Yeah, that is crazy.
But he also said something pretty cryptic also in that tweet, I feel like, where he said, we'll see what happens on draft night, to where maybe, the team is looking to deal him on draft night and he'll end up somewhere else. Possible landing spots for Austin Eckler, though, I could see any three of these running backs going to the Falcons, to be honest with you. They've been kind of buying players as of late. They've been trying to beef up the roster some. I don't know why with Desmond Ridder back there at quarterback, but it seems like they're trying to make some sort of a weird push and acquire assets, and one of these guys would be awesome for Atlanta because they love running the ball.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. As far as fantasy value, I think Eckler probably stands to lose the most
going to the Falcons
in terms of,
or just in terms
of
just
going
value.
Anywhere.
Yeah,
I think as a fantasy asset, I think it was the perfect situation in LA with the Chargers. High powered offense, high volume passing offense with a quarterback that liked to check it down to him a ton. I think if he goes anywhere else, his role gets reduced a bit, or at least he's not deployed in the same way that we saw in LA. So I'm a little bit nervous on him from a fantasy perspective due to changing of scenery and age a little bit also. I feel like Henry and Cook, yes, they do have scheme fits and that matters.
But they're kind of one size fits all type of players where they can go to another team and do the same thing they've been doing.
Yeah, I think that their value is going to kind of translate regardless of where they go. You could make the argument that Derrick Henry needs kind of an outside zone scheme. As a big dude, he needs to get those legs churning, get up to speed. But I'm sure, other teams can make that happen for him.
Absolutely. I see what you're saying now about Austin Eckler, because they do deploy him quite a bit, especially as a receiver, stuff like that. Other teams might not even need to do that because they already have receivers. So I could definitely see that. What do you think in terms of price tags for these guys? What do you think people would give up for any of them? I know it's kind of tough because I really don't know myself. I'm purely speculating.
Yeah, we're talking about aging running backs here. The NFL market on some of these players is kind of crazy. It makes sense, but considering you're gonna have to extend these guys who are already on the older side, it's gonna be cheap. Gonna be cheap. We just saw Allen Robinson go for a 14 pick upgrade in the 7th round.
Yeah, it's a pick swap.
Yeah, a 7th round pick swap. We saw Amari Cooper go for a 5th last year. These are guys that are, well, I don't know about Allen Robinson anymore, but Amari Cooper is clearly a contributor. And these are running backs. The NFL already kind of values them to a lesser extent than some of these other positions. So I wouldn't be shocked if it's a 6th or 7th round compensation.
That's what I was thinking too.
Maybe they get the original team to cover, the majority of the rest of their contract or something like that too.
Yeah, because that's the biggest problem with Dalvin, right? They want him to take a pay cut, and he's like, I don't know about that. But that's what also they did for dude. The Rams got robbed at gunpoint for that Allen Robinson trade because like it's a 14 pick swap, and they're paying $10 million on a salary.
Yeah.
Like that's nuts.
I mean, I feel like this is pretty indicative of what they thought about Allen Robinson after having him on the team. Like he's washed, right?
Yeah, but after all that, I just don't understand NFL teams, man. They acted like they loved Allen Robinson, and then the season started.
really
They're like,
did.
ah, fuck that guy. I hate that guy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Why is he on this team? Why would I
Don't
throw him
make
the
sense.
ball?
Doesn't make sense, bro.
Nah. And then moving on to the last piece we got for y'all, Mr. Hendon Hooker, potentially a first-round pick. Do you think this could happen? Because after seeing some stuff that I saw yesterday, I don't know, because one of the teams he was heavily tied to was the Vikings, which would be cool. It's a sort of a passing of the torch, but also not very plausible from the Vikings' point of view, because if they make that pick, their next pick isn't until the 86th overall. So they're kind of giving away their draft just to get Hendon Hooker in the first round, and I don't think that's going to happen.
And they just got linked to Trey Lance rumors.
See? Yeah, so
I
think the Hendon Hooker being a first round pick thing, it's something that's gaining steam, but I think it should be losing some steam. But what do you think?
If it's me making the evaluation, 100% agree with you. Yeah. Hendon Hooker should not be a first round pick. Hendon Hooker is 25 years old, coming off of an ACL injury, coming from an offensive system that was just so gadgety, so fake. Like the production was all just manufactured. It was all one and maybe two reads at best. I'm not saying that he wasn't accurate. I'm not saying that he can't potentially be good. We've seen Geno Smith. This is why people think that Geno Smith might be a good mentor for Hendon Hooker if he was to fall to Seattle late in the first round, or if they were to trade back into the first round. Because he also came from a spread system that was fairly gadgety in West Virginia. Didn't have success early on in his NFL career, but then kind of figured it out. I don't really believe in Hendon Hooker, but I've seen a lot of hype around him going in the first round. And we've talked about it before with getting that 5th-year option on a quarterback is so important. And so somebody might try to trade into the back end of the first to make that happen.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening, someone trading in, especially like trading with like the Eagles for like that late pick, that 30th pick. But I don't know, man. The Hendon Hooker first round pick train, I don't believe in it. I'm kind of selling it at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to see, man. I'm so excited. A week away. Actually, when we release this video, it'll probably be a day later, so 5 or 6 days away from the NFL draft. It is coming quickly.
We are danger close.
Danger close. But yeah, that is going to wrap us up for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed some of our kind of speculation. This was definitely a fun one for us. And I hope that you guys are just as excited as we are for the NFL draft coming up here soon. Thank you for watching. Do all of that great YouTube stuff. Hit the subscribe button so that you can see our videos coming out in the future. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Comment down below. Engage with us. We're always answering questions and stuff like that. And also, we have a link down in the description for our Discord if you're interested in more communication with us and also communicating with some really smart people that we also have as fans and people that want to interact with us in there. It's a big conversation. We're all having a good time, so please join the Discord as well. But yeah, Will, you got anything else left to say before we get out of here?
Nah, that's all I got. I think you got everything right there. But if you guys made it this far into the video, as always, we love you, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.